Dear ChatGTP, please help me to write API tests with Playwright. Oh, guys. Sorry, I didn't expect to see you here. Anyway, as you might see, topic of today's video is writing API tests with Playwright, and I propose to start right away. Okay, first things first, let's find out some dummy project which we can use for our practice. I found dummy JSON project which seems suits our needs. First of all, let's review the docs. We are going to need couple of requests. We have a public one, for example, as a product. We can get a single product with just a GET request. We can fire it in our browser. Oops, sorry, I need to remove quotes. And we can see the response. Same way we are going to do with Playwright. What about API testing in Playwright? There is a full document which are describing the way how to do it. But what I want to point out, there is a built-in APIRequestContext, and you can use it in a couple of ways. Let's discuss it in more details. I'll find out context request and global request. So two ways. One of them, that's when we reuse browser context with our API request context. That means that cookies which we have in our browser are shared with API request context. So if you are logged in user in the API, you are also logged in user in browser as well. That's a pretty important point to remember always when you write API and UI tests. And for example, if you mix them, if you have part of API tests which does authentication stuff, and then later you fire your UI page, you are going to be logged in. And if that's expected behavior for you, that's fine, you can follow it and enjoy. But for example, if you want to avoid sharing cookies, then there is also a way to do that. You can fire a new instance of API. In our case, it's going to be Playwright request new context. And by doing so, we are not sharing cookies between browser and this new API request. That's a very important topic. And let's get started. First, we want to get the product. That's a public API token, and we are going to start from it. Let's open our IDE. We are going to use cursor again, and let's basically install our Playwright. And it's easy to do, as I will follow as our manual says, just yarn create. We are going to use yarn as package manager. We need to use TypeScript, tests, GitHub actions we are not interested. Install browsers. We are waiting for the installation. And we can see how new packages arrives to our directory. It's done, and first let's start with configuration. We need, what do we need? Testing directory, tests, retries, we don't really care, we need base URL. So by having that, we don't need to provide full URL when we fire our request. We are going to use dummy JSON, so it's easy to change. Done. Next, browsers, we can keep only Chromium, but still we are going to use only API. Done. Nice. Next, let's remove this type of tests. We don't need them. And we need only tests example, and let's rename it. Let's use the name of public API spec, and next we need API directory. So let's create. We need to create new directory. We call it API, and inside API we need a base, our base class for our API client. We need new file. We are going to call it base test, and here we just want to have export default class name. We can name it request. As we are going to have a request in our API client, we are going to have it a request holder. That's our API base class, and basically we need constructor with API requests, with API request context, and then we need basically this request, and we need also create this property, and we can say treat only request, and we need to remove private key. We don't need it right here. Okay, our base class is ready. Next we need couple of controllers. So first of all we need to get a product. So it's reasonable to have a product class for that case. Let's go and create one, and we are going to have folder controller where we are going to hold all our controllers, and here we need product ts, and basically export product controller, and we need a request holder, correct? As you can see, it nicely adds all the code, and here we can have a method get. Get, we are going to provide ID, number, and then later we are going to fire products ID. Let's see, products 1. Yeah, easy peasy. We are done here. Let's get back to our public API. First, has title get product data, for example. Let's call it like so. Now it's time for fixtures. We need our application to hold all the controllers which we have. So it's easy to have one builder which is going to initiate all existing controllers, and let's do it. We can create new folder, and we can be in the root. We can create a new folder. We can name it fixture, and let's just move it to root. And inside the fixtures, first of all, we need our application class, and we need to call app.ts. And inside this class we need to export our default class app, which is going to have a product controller and constructor which basically holds request, APIRequestContext, and creates a new product controller. And we can quickly fix it by adding a product, and let's quickly fix this as well. Fine. We are good to go here. Now let's extend our test. So by default we have a test from Playwright, and we need to extend it a little bit and add new functionality. Let's create a new file which we are going to call also base.ts, and that file is going, actually I want to rename it, not base, but we want to have different name. We want to have request holder, yes, updates, and inside our base test we need couple of things. First of all, we want to define our type. Let's have a new type with additional test option. Let's name it test option, and it's basically going to have not a request, but it's going to have our application. Fine, and let's import it. Next, we want to extend our test. That's important. So we want to import, we need export our new constant test, which actually equals to our base one, and base we are going to name after Playwright test. So first we import test as a base. Next we extend base with additional option, which is actually our application. And let's see what it proposed for us. We don't need request here. We just can have page directly, and here we just want to basically page.request. So we initiate new application, and our API request is available under the page. So if we open Playwright documentation, if we go to section, if we go to API and find here page, and we should be able to find request here. Request. Let's see from all the available request properties. So that's API testing helper associated with this page, and this request is basically sharing details, sharing cookies with your browser context. So that's important to remember. Let's get back, and let's see, we don't need scope worker actually at all. We don't need it because we are going to use it in all our tests, particularly only in one right now, and we are good to go. So what we did here, we initiated new type test option with additional parameter app application. Next we extended default test of Playwright with our new app, which holds all the controllers for API requests, and later we use it in our test. Now let's switch to our test, and instead of page we can set that we want to use our app, and instead of go to we can actually await product get one, right, and doesn't exist. That's because we need to use different test, actually not test from Playwright but our defined test, and we can do that by updating import. We need fixtures base. Next one, we need to work more on our get request, because we need to return JSON and not just all the request. So const response is get, and later, and of course we need to remember about asynchronous operations. As it gets, it should be asynchronous, and later we are going to return response JSON. Okay, we are good to go. And one more thing, let's return predefined object here. So we can basically define our models. I propose to have model directory where we are going to store all the required models, and here we can have let's say product response that type script, and here we just export type product response and some predefined filters: ID, title, and description. Let's see which fields this product holds. Let's show an output. We have ID, title, description, price, and the stuff. Basically, we just can have a couple of them. Let's say, I don't know, maybe price as well. Let's have price as number, and it should be enough. It is actually should be enough. And let's get back to our public API. Now, what we need to do is basically, okay, one more thing. Here, one more thing, sorry. We need to open our product controller, and now we need to set as product response. So type of this response is product response, but actually not just product response, but it should be promise product response. Okay, it looks good. It looks good. Now our test know definitely what is going to happen next. We can define product, and there are a couple of ways how you can assert the response of the API. One of them, you can do it one by one, field by field. And here's an example. Let's see, we are requesting product with ID 1. What we are expecting to see? Title. We need to see this title. Easy. Right, and next, description. We need to see this description. Also, let's just for now we can insert it here. And price actually $9.99. $9.99. Fine. Let's try to run it. To run it, actually, we can have additional test script in our package.json. Under the scripts, we can create test, Playwright test, and we can add npx runner. And let's try it. Okay, we failed because there is no space, obviously. Debug. Okay, we have another fail, and that's because we are using wrong version of NVM. Let's use Node version manager video about how to set up it properly. I have in my previous uploads. Check it out. NVM use 18. We just want to set right now. And let's try again. And run test. And now we see test started, but actually without actual browser, because we don't need it. We don't have any UI actions. And one test passed, and it's good. So we have it quickly. Let's change something. Let's say we have different price here, and let's just assert that our expects are working properly. And here we go. Oh, we see an error. Fine. What I wanted to show you more is that how you can avoid asserting one by one, field by field. You can actually do it in a little bit different way. So there is one trick which available, which calls basically object containing. There is method in Playwright where you can see object containing stuff, meaning you assert only part of our object. As you can see, we have a couple of properties, but we are going to assert on the first one. Same goes here. You have a nested objects, and even in a nested objects you have a nested object containing, and assert only part of those objects. And let's try it out. Let's get back and let's have a new expect again product, but we need to expect who product, and let's do equal. Yeah, but if we'll try to assert just this part, our test going to fail. Let's remove it for a second. Let's save it. Let's stop it. Stop, and let's try again. And we should see that our test fails because we receive much more information, and we can fix it. We can fix it with exactly expect object containing stuff. Yep, let's try it out again. Let's relaunch our test, and yeah, as we can see, success. So this is super useful method in case if you want to assert just part of the response which is more valuable for you. Good. Let's get back. So we played around with public data, but what to do for private one? And that's also the case I want to discuss with you, because our dummy project actually has authentication part, and you can see you can fire auth login method and just pass some JSON with username and password, and you are going to receive cookies with access token in it, and later you can fire authenticating user. For example, there is a request auth me, and if we will try to fire it without any authentication, we are going to see an error. Yeah, access token is required. So let's try to play around. Let's create authentication controller. We need basically we need new controller which we are going to use auth.ts. Should be easy. Next we are going to export auth controller. Here we need to have see, it's easy. We need to have login method with username and password. Next we are going to fire post request with auth login, and but only one thing is that request doesn't exist in auth controller, of course, because we need to extend it from our request holder. Extends request holder. Okay, now it looks better. Let's see the details of our authentication. Login and auth token. So what do we see here? Auth login. Auth login. Okay, straightforward. Next, application JSON. It's by default. We're going to send username, password, and username and password. That's all what we need. And method is post. Let's see. We are firing post with data username and password. It's super easy. And next we have some response show output. Basically we have a response of a user. Again, let's use our model. Let's create new class inside. So we are returning part of the user. So I would call it probably user.ts. And inside here we just need to export type user, which has username, password. Oh, okay, not user, but sorry, we need to rename it, and we need to have it user response ts. Okay, it looks better. User response. Next, which fields do we have? Oh, username. We have email. Let's do it. Yeah. Okay, we have basically email. We have first name. We have last name, and what else? Okay, I think it's enough. In name, username, and actually password we can remove it from now. And now let's get back to our public API test. So our test, let's have a new test. We just can copy and paste it, and let's rename it quickly. and public API, and next we have Auth API, and here get user data with authentication. And now we just need to use different controller which is available. It's going to be not product, obviously. Okay, we need to define our new class, don't forget about it. This auth basically is its new auth controller, which needs to have a request in it. And now we need to have a new field. It only auth controller. It should be straightforward, and okay, sorry, it should be straightforward. Let's get back to our test now. Get user data with auth. Here we just need to have auth, and we need to basically log in. And to do so, we are going to use some simple user which they are provided in the example Emily's. Again, we need to pass two variables. We need to pass two parameters. One is name, next one is basically password. pass. And fine. And also we need to define our response, and we need to return response and JSON, and it should be as user response. Why not? I mean, okay, it should be in promise. Of course, it should be in promise, because JSON returns asynchronous operation and returns the promise for us. Now let's get back to our auth, and that's going to be user. Next, we need to assert some fields of our user. We know that user, we don't have an ID. What we want to assert is actually username. Let's see, username, email, and probably first name. It should be enough. Fast and email. Okay. Username is Emily's. Email is that one. Email is pretty long one. Okay. And first name is Emily. Emily. Fine. And now let's try to run it. Why not? So let's start the test, and we are going to see two tests are running, and both of them are green. Let's for instance change something to get an error, just to make sure that we are on a safe side. It's always good practice to first fail your test and then make it green. And now you can see that we have different data in our response. We can see access token. One more interesting thing which I want to show you is actually, let's bring back our browser. Let's for a second see what is going to happen if we try to request URL of user without authentication. And to do so, we can see await. We need page. Okay, sorry, we need to have page, and we need to import it from our Playwright, and wait page go to, and let's open again our auth me. Go to auth me. Oh, we don't need the slash at the beginning. Okay, and fine, and before the authentication, and let's go same as me after the authentication, and we are going to stop for a moment here, and let's stop it, and let's see. Okay, page is not used because we don't need it. Okay, makes sense, we just need to mention it here. Fine, and let's try to run our test with debug. To run test in headed mode, you can add headed option. Let's try it. Let's get back and let's have it with headed. Why not? And let's stop it for an instance. And also, if you need to run some special test, you just need to provide a path to it or to capture it globally. Let's try it. Also, let's for now run only for example our second test, auth API get user data with auth. We are only interested in this test for now. Okay, and let's try to debug it. Debugger is attached, and we see new browser fired. Access token is required. Okay, that's expected behavior, totally expected behavior. Now let's step over and let's go to the page again. See, now we see the user because we share cookies between our API and our browser. That's essential stuff to know. Fine, I'm glad we handled that. And now what we are going to do, so we get some response. Now I want to fire also auth me, but using API to make sure that we actually see the same data. And basically that's not authentication anymore, that's a user stuff. So we can actually create new file, user ts, and again all the procedures here. We can copy the stuff, just insert it and change it a little bit. Auth controller is going to be user controller, and we are going to get me, and it's going to be a get, and the URL of those request is auth me. Okay. Oh, actually I'm wrong, guys. It's still a auth, so we don't need user. I would delete it. And let's get back to auth. And here we just need additional method in me, where you get user data, and that's going to be constant response of our await this request get, and we need just provide auth me, and next we need to return. Basically our return is absolutely the same in this case because we also return user response. And fine, let's get back to our test. Now let's fire the request const user response, which equals to await auth me. Pretty straightforward. Next, let's assert it. Basically it should be the same. It should be absolutely the same. You don't need breaking points. We can just define variable here, and let's try again. Yarn test, and okay, first time we open the browser and user unexpected end of JSON. Okay. Yes, because error in the path. Could happen. Let's try again. we should be good to go. Okay, we need to remove page. Good, and once again. Still, browser somewhere is launching. Oh, okay, I know why browser is launching, because we added headed option, and even we don't use a browser, it's still launching, so we can remove it safely. And let's get back and start test again. We can see green one. Okay, we are done for today, and we learned how to fire API requests with Playwright. We saw how to do a public request. We saw how to authenticate and then later use that state in further steps. For example, our authentication, we shared the API token between browser context and API request context. It's super useful when, for example, you need to have a quick API login and then later use that state in your tests. And you can initiate a browser with previously saved API request state, which means you are going to share cookies between those two items. It's pretty useful and helps you to speed up your tests. You don't need to log in all the time, which means it's time saver and consume less resources. I hope you enjoyed and come to see me next time. Bye bye.